Have you ever looked at a map and wondered how a country's simple borders, its mountains, and its coastlines can become one of the most important pieces on the global chessboard? How its location can literally shape the flow of power, trade, and even conflict for the whole world? Well, today, we're diving deep into Pakistan, a country whose very geography puts it right at the heart of these massive global power dynamics. All right, let's get into it.
Now, before we go any further, we need to get our heads around one key term: geopolitics. It sounds complicated, but the idea is actually pretty simple. It's a study of how where a country is shapes what it can do. We're talking mountains, warm water ports, strategic corridors, and how all that stuff translates into real-world power.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to look at the classic rules of the game, the big theories that have shaped world events for over 100 years. Then, we'll zero in on Pakistan, looking at its role from the land and from the sea. We'll see how those two identities merge into something unique, and then finally, we'll ask the big question: what does it all mean for the future? To really get a handle on Pakistan's role today, we've got to rewind a bit. We need to understand the three foundational ideas that great powers have been using to draw up their playbooks for generations. First up, let's talk about Alfred Thayer Mahan. Back in the late 1800s, his big idea was this: true global power doesn't come from massive armies. It comes from a dominant navy. He argued that whoever controls the seas, the world's great commercial highways, controls the world. You know, think of the British Empire at its peak. That's Mahan's theory in a nutshell.
But then, a guy named Alfred came along and said, hold on a second. He looked at the map and saw something totally different. He saw this gigantic, resource-packed Eurasian landmass, what he called the heartland, as the real center of gravity. He believed this continental pivot area was like a natural fortress, and any power that controlled it could eventually dominate the entire globe, challenging any sea power.
And that brings us to our third big thinker, Nicholas Spykman. And his idea is maybe the most important for our story today. He looked at this whole debate between land power and sea power and basically said, you're both missing the most critical piece of the puzzle. The real prize isn't the deep interior or the open ocean. It's the coastal areas in between, the rimland. This is where land and sea powers crash into each other. So his takeaway was, control the coasts and you control the world.
Okay, so with those three big theories in our back pocket, let's finally place Pakistan on the map. First, we're going to look at it through Mackinder's lens, as a critical gateway for that vast Eurasian heartland.
Think about it. If you're a massive land-based power like China, or one of the energy-rich but completely landlocked nations of Central Asia, your geography is kind of like a prison. You have all these resources, but you need a reliable way to get them to the world's oceans. Well, Pakistan's location offers the key, a direct land bridge to the warm waters of the Arabian Sea.
And this map just illustrates that point perfectly. Look at these corridors snaking down from China's western regions in Central Asia, all converging right on Pakistan's coast. And this isn't just a theory on a map. We're talking about real projects, like the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, that are turning this land bridge into a concrete steel and asphalt reality. It's a huge strategic shortcut.
But wait, that's really only half the story, because if Pakistan is a gateway for the heartland, it's also very much a key player in Spykman's rimland. It's a maritime nation through and through. So now, let's just flip our perspective. We're looking at the exact same country, but the focus has totally shifted. See that 1,046-kilometer coastline? That isn't just a beach. It's a strategic front-row seat on the Arabian Sea. It puts ports like Karachi and Gwadar right at the intersection of some of the most vital energy and trade routes on the entire planet. And we're not talking about just any old body of water here. The Indian Ocean is a massive deal. It's the world's third largest ocean, it sits on top of 2/3 of all global oil reserves, and it acts as a superhighway for about 90,000 commercial ships every single year. Having a major coastline here is like having a VIP pass to the engine room of the global economy. So, we've seen Pakistan as a land gateway and as a sea anchor. But the really amazing part is what happens when you put those two identities together. This is where things get truly unique. This quote from the Friday Times just nails it. Pakistan isn't just one or the other. It's this rare geopolitical hybrid. It has one foot planted firmly inland, looking toward the heart of Asia, and the other dipped into the world's most important oceans. It's a pivot state and a rimland state all at once. And if you want to see what this hybrid identity looks like in the real world, look no further than CPEC.
It is the ultimate expression of this idea. It's literally the fusion of our two maps, the overland routes from the heartland meeting the deepwater port of Gwadar right on the rimland. It's where land power physically shakes hands with sea power.
So why does this matter so much? Well, check out this number. By using Gwadar, China can cut the journey for its energy imports from a long 16,000-kilometer slog down to less than 5,000. That's a saving of 11,000 kilometers. That is an absolutely massive strategic and economic game changer. And it's all thanks to Pakistan's one-of-a-kind location.
Now, having this unique role, it gets you a lot of attention. But being the hinge of Asia, well, that's a classic double-edged sword. It creates incredible opportunities, but it also comes with some pretty serious risks. So what does it all mean for Pakistan? Well, on one hand, being that pivot means you can get caught in the middle of great power rivalries. Trouble in the neighborhood can easily spill over your borders. But on the other hand, being a rimland anchor gives you the chance to become a massive hub for global trade, which gives you incredible economic and diplomatic leverage. The geography is fixed, but the outcome? That's a choice. So ultimately, it all boils down to this. World powers are paying attention to Pakistan for not just one, but two deeply interconnected geopolitical reasons. The huge challenge and the huge opportunity is to play that hand skillfully, to turn all that strategic attention into real-world leverage, and then turn that leverage into lasting stability and influence. And that leaves us with this final, massive question. Given its unique position as both a heartland gateway and a rimland anchor, will Pakistan become the bridge that finally connects Eurasia's great land and sea powers, or will it become the fault line where their ambitions collide and break things apart? The answer to that question will help shape the 21st century.